Good morning and welcome to our newly formed Aviation and Transportation Subcommittee. My name is Deborah Stark and I'm joined by Mayor Thelda Williams and Councilwoman Felicita Mendoza. So let's get started with approval of minutes. Thank you.
I would move approval of the minutes of June 12th.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have one consent item, item 2. Can I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any call to public cards. I
Okay.
apologize. Thank you for catching that, though. So I have a consent item, and then we have information items, which are 3 through 7. So do I have, no, not 7, 2 through 7, pardon me. So may I have a motion?
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and so we go to item 8. Roadway abandonment and request. Yeah, I'm sorry, I have the wrong.
It's for information only.
Yeah, I apologize. I was
Oh,
cheating off a sheet that's not up to date. Sorry about that. That is what was confusing. Thank you. I will look at this agenda then. So, item 8. Okay, 8 through 10 are information. Do we have any cards? Okay, so we move on. I don't think we need a motion for information only. Okay, so number 11 is a discussion and possible action, and this deals with our bus rapid transit.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you. This item, there was a pretty strong discussion at the last Transportation Infrastructure Subcommittee meeting about bus rapid transit. A lot of great questions. The item had been continued from that meeting to this meeting today, so that more questions could be answered. And so back to present on this item is Ken Kessler, Public Transit Director, and Mike James, Deputy Director. And so I will turn it over to Ken for the presentation.
Thank you, Mario. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, as Mario mentioned, this is an item coming back from the June T&I subcommittee meeting. Over the summer during the break, Mike and I held a number of briefings with all of you as well as all the other council members to thoroughly discuss this topic, recognizing that this is a new service for not just the city of Phoenix, but the entire valley. So we wanted to make sure we took the opportunity to answer all the questions that everybody had and address those. And so we're here today with a brief presentation on the item and looking for your recommendation to approve the contract awards. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike James.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Williams, members of the subcommittee. I'm just going to jump right in with a little bit of information from the last meeting because we have a new member. Welcome. And kind of move through some of the updates, as Ken mentioned, as we've talked with the different council members. So Bus Rapid Transit is a new high-capacity transit service that was approved as an integral part of the T2050 plan. It focuses on providing fast and reliable transit to a greater extent of our city. And really prioritize transit mobility on certain designated streets. And over the summer, we've been working with the Streets Department on the Key Corridors Master Plan to make sure that this effort and that effort are synced up as we're planning for the future streets of our city. So I like to use these two examples to talk a little bit about bus rapid transit. The Los Angeles example is a good example of what I call a curb running transit, bus rapid transit operations, where that bus is running in the curb lanes. You can see the station there, but it also shares space with right turning cars in and out so that cars can actually make right turns and enter and exit businesses as they go through the corridor. The other example from Los Angeles is a median running example, more similar to what we operate in our light rail, but using a bus technology, shorter stations, but integrated into the street. So a lot of people here don't have an experience on what is bus rapid transit. So I wanted to use this graphic to kind of demonstrate the different technologies of transit and how it relates to speed and reliability. You can see on the right side of the slide, you have your fastest and most reliable transit. Those are going to be, high-speed rail, commuter rail. Those transit modes are running in their own exclusive guideway outside of the street. Then on the left side, you have local bus, streetcars that are running entirely in a mixed condition with other traffic. And then in the middle, we have, similar to our light rail transit system here, the light rail runs in a transit-only lane that's prioritized to move people. So what is bus rapid transit? Like light rail, it looks to prioritize the movement of transit and people through the city using some of the techniques that you also see with the rail system. Faster boarding stations, more user amenities, faster travel times, less stations, and less stops than a local transit. So it's really kind of where it fits into this menu of transit options for the city. So why bus rapid transit? Going back to the development of the T2050 plan, a citizens committee was put together to look at transit options. And so they looked across the entire city what made the most sense for expanding the opportunity for high capacity transit. And bus rapid transit was a great solution to extend the opportunity for fast frequent transit and also address the fast growing city that we have. By 2040, the city is expected to add 600 to 700,000 new people. So we need additional high capacity transit that can do that. Bus rapid transit is also good because it provides healthy transportation options. It allows economies to grow. It's good for employers who can get people in and out to their work faster. It supports walkable communities, safety, and ultimately the affordability of the city as it's a viable transit option. So we're asking to spend a lot of money to get this program initiated. So what are the outcomes that we expect? So the first and foremost, most important, is an inclusive community dialogue, understanding and ownership of this program. We don't want to bring something back to you that's going to be an argument, creating high problems or issues in the media. We want this to be a community-owned and understood and supported program. So we know that we have a lot of work to get to that point. As the council has also directed, we're going to be doing the corridor assessments of those lines that were put on the voter map, as well as a whole list of detailed planning, as you can see here. Funding and finance plan, system operating plan, developing the entire capital system. What is the new signal technologies that we want? What do stations look like? How does this integrate with our local bus routes? All of those plans and strategies need to be developed to make sure that this is a successful network. So as Ken mentioned earlier, we have been doing council briefings. With those discussions, we've updated our outreach and approach. Some of the things that are really important is to make sure that we engage early before we do a lot of the technical work and analysis. That's really important. We've clarified that we are not engaging in preliminary engineering at this phase. Rather, we're going to be developing alternatives for the community and the planning team to review. So with that process, we feel comfortable at this point moving ahead with the understanding that we're going to work closely with the council district offices as we're developing our outreach and engagement plan. So there's basically, we've kind of broken down the overall 2-year planning phase into 6 steps. So as I mentioned earlier, the initial education engagement is an opportunity to listen to the community. What are their interests? What are their concerns? What are the goals and objectives that they see with this program? Then we're going to take that community input, marry it up with our technical information, ridership, activity centers, and develop a draft network plan. We'll then be bringing that back to the community for input, outreach, and a dialogue to talk about what does this mean. I think this is really important as we've been working with outreach for the light rail project over the last several weeks. One of the things that we've heard, and it's in Eric Bailey's report, is that there's more need for dialogue about how does this overall network and system work. So we're gonna take that to heart as we're developing this program. So Once council and the community is comfortable with that, with the network plan, we will then engage in developing corridor alternatives. And essentially, these are developing cross sections. How are we utilizing that space within the right-of-way? What technologies are we using on the signal side? And how is it integrating with our other transportation options and modes? Again, we'll go through specific corridor outreach to make sure that when we're actually narrowing down on those corridors, that we're doing all the outreach that we need to make sure that people are informed, educated, have a chance to inform the development of those plans. And then ultimately, we'll be bringing that entire plan, funding and finance package, operating plan, and approach to City Council for approval. Then, once City Council approves that overall plan and strategy, then we'll be seeking, coming back through this process, scopes and budgets for preliminary engineering. So just a quick note on the selection process. We worked with the Streets Transportation Department to develop a qualifications-based solicitation for 2 packages. The first package, planning, capital system development, and the community education and engagement. We received 2 proposals. HDR was our highest ranked team. On package B, for the engineering design aspects, we received 6 proposals, and we chose the top 3 ranked firms, which were the CK Group, AECOM, and the CA Group. So with that, we're seeking, again, recommendation for approval to move forward with the BRT program. This was approved unanimously by the Citizens Transportation Commission back in May, and we look forward to moving forward with a $3 million contract for the planning component, as well as 3 $150,000 contracts for support on those design and developing those cross sections. So with that, we'd be happy to take some questions.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for taking the summer to spend some time with the council. I know we had a couple follow-up meetings. I also had an opportunity to see Bus Rapid in action. Part of my summer vacation was going to Seattle, and so I got to see it in action. And it's pretty slick. It adds a supplement to their light rail system, and I was very impressed. I also had a chance to look at some videos of the way it works in Las Vegas. Las Vegas looks a lot like a light rail. It has kind of the look and the feel, but I think it is a good alternative. It adds to our system. Our system really has to be not just about one thing, but about buses, rapid. One of the things that first confused me when you brought it to us is we have rapid buses, but this is bus rapid. So getting a better clarification on that really helped me. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
When do you think this would be operable?
So you know, we're looking to basically go through this 2-year kind of time frame to develop the network, the plan, and then initiate the corridor. So essentially, if we had 2 years of planning, then we could enter into preliminary engineering design. That would maybe take like another year. And then essentially, bus rapid transit can be constructed, if that's the right word, much quicker, you know, within, you know, a year, rather than, you know, some of the rail projects that take 3 or 4 years to implement. These can be basically implemented in a year. So, you know, between, I would say approximately about 4 years, if everything went in a linear process, we could have something on the ground in about 4 years. Now, one caveat that I would add is we have applied for some grants to look at technology to support BRT. If we were to receive those grants, those technology grants from the US DOT, that could advance some of our development of the technology and could move a corridor faster. But essentially, you know, it's about 4 years process.
Does it take special buses?
Yeah, typically on bus rapid transit, you will design a bus, identify a bus that has features that will be compatible with the system that you're operating. One example is, how do you deal with bicycles? So many bus rapid transit systems, you really don't want someone have to walk off a level boarding station with their bike, then lift it up on the front of the bike, because that really slows down the operations. So they've you would design your bus rapid transit vehicle, your bus, so that you could bring those bicycles on board and they'd have a secure, safe place to store them for the ride, similar to light rail. So that's some of the things. Another example is on routes where you have a lot of on and offs in a dense area. You don't really, where you're not sitting for a long time, you want to have less seats. So you have to look at the individual corridor to kind of spec that bus for the type of use that we will be expecting.
And then lastly, I mentioned this before, I think this is especially important for east-west transportation. But I feel very strongly that we need to be working with our suburbs, the cities that join us, so that we develop major corridors like we would have if it was light rail, so that they feed into the system and it's very smooth transition.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Mayor Williams, absolutely. We've had some discussions with some of our neighboring communities. We plan to also work through the MAG committee process as well to share what we're doing and to bring folks on board that are our neighboring communities, so that in the future, as we look to the extension of Proposition 400 and what some of these neighboring communities may do with their share of that program in terms of connecting a BRT system across cities. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
I have a question. In your presentation, you mentioned creating a network and also the 2 corridors that were on the T2050. So are we just going to focus on these 2 corridors, or we're going to focus on looking at other corridors in the city?
So council has directed us to look at other corridors, do an assessment of those corridors as well as the rest of the city. So we're really going to re-look at the entire city as we're entering into planning.
Good, because in your report it says this is to address growing population. So I know there's a lot of growing population in the Laveen, Estrella, South Mountain area. So just want to make sure that we look into that.
Absolutely. One of the things we'll be looking at is the population change in the last 5 years since the plan was developed. So we'll be able to report back on that.
Okay, thank you.
So just one last question. One of the things that impressed me in Seattle with their BRT is some of the lanes they could use not just for the buses. They were used during the rush hour, but then on the weekends they could be used for parking and for could you maybe just expand on that? It seems to me it's a little bit more flexible than light rail.
Yeah, so one of the big opportunities with bus rapid transit is to really understand that our streets are dynamic. They're not operating the same level of service, the same capacity, the same speeds through all times of the day or even on different days. So one of the strategies of BRT is looking at, when is that vehicle really getting delayed that it's not meeting the objectives that we define? So is it a time of day where it's getting slowed down and it needs signal priority help, or transit only lane, or a queue jump? So we'll be looking specifically where we can utilize our streets in a more dynamic way. And so that's one of the benefits of BRT. One of the other benefits with BRT is, if it is operating in a curb lane and there's an accident, it can move into the other lane and move through, or it can pass other vehicles. Unlike, most of the time our local buses kind of stay in that curb lane and don't move. So there's some flexibility on how that operates. We can utilize queue jumps to move that to the head of signals if it can't have a pure priority, but that will just improve the consistency of that trip. And that's really what we're trying to do, is those consistent headways and frequency of service that people really can rely on this as a viable transportation option.
And Chair, if I could add, that's one of the great things about having these contracts that have a total of 33 consultant teams on there. So we have vast experience that folks have worked on those projects, worked on a variety of BRT projects across the country. So we kind of get sort of an all-in type of look, what different options make sense in different corridors. So we're looking forward to working with those teams.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? I need a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Okay, item 12, I guess, Ken, you're going to stay and talk about our new CAD system. our computer-aided dispatch and automatic vehicle locator. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Stark, members of the subcommittee. As you mentioned, this is a discussion about our CAD AVL system. Back in 2016, Council approved the initial contract for this project. In that procurement, we had a number of optional features included in there, and at the time we went forward with the initial award of the contract, the region had not yet decided which of all the various optional features was desired to be included in the project. So we just came to council with the base items in the contract and the funding for that. So what this here today is a discussion about a change order coming forward to add a couple of the additional optional features. And Albert Crespo is here to go through the presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. As Ken mentioned, I will be doing the presentation on the computer-aided dispatch automatic vehicle locator system, better known as CAD AVL. Council's previous action with regards to this system, Phoenix City Council awarded the CAD AVL system contract to Clever Devices in November of 2016. That contract, that system replaced the existing system, which was 15 years old. It has become antiquated. It has obsolete hardware. The new contract took effect March 2017. It is a 16-year contract, and we are currently in the installation phase, which takes approximately 2 years. Before I get into the actual contract and some of the options, I did want to talk about the CAD AVL system functionality. It basically has 3 critical functions in terms of bus operations, which includes vehicle location tracking via GPS. It includes incident management, whereby it facilitates the communication from the bus operator to the operations control center so that they can report real-time incidents, accidents, anything that may occur in and around the bus. And then lastly, it also assists in aggregating the data for our key performance indicators for our transit operations contracts. So that would be key data such as on-time performance, missed service, everything that we use to grade our contractors' performance. This contract is regional in nature, and it includes both bus and paratransit. So the system upgrade will affect 6 dispatch locations. It will affect 8 garage locations and over 1,000 vehicles regionally. So as Ken mentioned, the system, the contract was previously awarded, and it included 2 options that have received further evaluation by the region. Those 2 options are the upgraded surveillance system as well as a real-time location system. The real-time locator system is basically a smart yard or yard management tool, while the upgraded surveillance system is an upgrade to the bus cameras and the digital video recorder that captures the video on the buses. So these options offer a significant benefit to the region and our passengers, and I'll get into that in the forthcoming slides. So I wanted to start off with kind of painting the picture of what our current surveillance system looks like. This is an actual photo, a still shot of our video that's currently on our buses. Our surveillance system is basically used to mitigate risk to the city by having a recording of the events as they transpired on the bus. So it's achieved via the digital video recorder. On our oldest buses, this is what the video looks like. It's very grainy. It does not have high resolution. Some of the camera systems are older in nature and they've become obsolete. They're out of warranty or no longer supported by the manufacturer. So it's very important to upgrade these systems. Currently on the regional fleet, we have 374 vehicles that require the system upgrade. So the upgraded surveillance system will basically improve upon, and that picture looks a lot better if it was darker in here, but it's basically full color. There's also more cameras on the bus, including interior and exterior. We do have some older buses in the fleet that do not have exterior cameras, and that's problematic sometimes for us. The newest systems also have full audio recording, which is also important and for tracking incidents and things on the bus. These cameras have a proven reliability due to the fact that our newest buses after 2016 and on do have upgraded camera systems. So we have experience and we know they're functioning a lot better than the older systems that we have. And this would be a region-wide standardization, so it would be a full quality upgrade across the regional fleet, which is helpful. So that leads me to the next option that was available in the contract. And before I get into the RTLS, I did want to provide a little bit of background on our yard operations. So our yards are several acres in size. There are 100 to 200 fleet vehicles per yard, and our contractors use very manualized processes for tracking vehicles. In this day and age, it's kind of hard to manage a fleet of 200 vehicles when they're doing pen and paper. Inside dispatch, they are using magnet boards that basically say the vehicle number, and they move them across the board depending on where they are. It's very inefficient. It introduces a possibility for human error, and it's not automated, so a contractor can be very slow to recover when a bus that needs to go out didn't go out because of a mechanical reason, an incident, whatever it may be. So given that it can be difficult to recover from mistakes like that, that leads to late buses or missed service, which greatly impacts our passengers. So that's where RTLS comes in, RTLS, or the yard management tool. This provides for the real-time visibility of every bus that's in the yard. It's accurate to 1 to 1.5 meters. And this is actually a still shot of the system where dispatch and operations can look at it. So they can tell where every bus is at in the yard in relation to the facility, in relation to the bus wash, fueling. It's also color-coded. The RTLS taps into the CAD system, which also provides for vehicle health. So you can not only see where the bus is located, but you can see the health of the vehicle and if it's ready for revenue service or does it need to be swapped out with another bus. If that's the case, they can look at the yard and say which bus can go in its place. So it's a very efficient system for tracking and working, basically dispatching from the yard. This slide also kind of sums up. So in a nutshell, RTLS works with the HASIS scheduling software and the CAD system. It's about knowing where the vehicle is located, its state of readiness for service, and also dispatching the vehicle efficiently from the yard. And these three systems work very seamlessly to do that. So that leads me to some of the benefits of the RTLS system. As I mentioned, it basically automates a function that is heavily manualized at the yard. So there is potential for reduced contractor manpower, which eventually will translate to savings to the city, where we have contracts that require less staffing levels. Additionally, there's important maintenance component. So it's very important for us to maintain the status of our vehicles. Our 40-foot local buses cost us about $502,000 each. The largest 60-foot Rapids cost about $932,000. So we want to ensure the longevity of those vehicles. So it's important to track the maintenance on them. This tool will help us not only identify maintenance issues earlier, but also achieve the benefit of changing those vehicles out, getting them into maintenance, and getting service to our passengers. A case in point that I wanted to make regarding RTLS and this functionality with the CAD system. So last week we did have a bus that went into revenue service. This particular bus, unbeknownst to the operator, unbeknownst to maintenance, had a sensor that malfunctioned. So that sensor malfunction didn't provide information relative to an engine overheating. So the bus actually stalled on the I-10. So when it stalled on the I-10, then we have to dispatch a second vehicle to arrange a passenger exchange. We have to get DPS out there to do the safe exchange of passengers. So it's not just maintenance, contractor savings, but it's saving people time and money and the resources that it takes to address an issue like that, getting passengers safely from one vehicle to another on I-10 during morning peak service. So that leads me to the benefits of the passengers. As I mentioned, nothing causes greater frustration to our passengers than delayed buses, late service, missed service. These systems tied together will help maintain the set schedule and provide quality customer service to our passengers. It's improved service reliability, improved maintenance, and those are key to providing quality service. So that leads me to the financial impact. The contract and options are supported by regional and federal funding. No T2050 funds will be used for capital and infrastructure costs, given that they are federal and regional funding. Additionally, the operations costs, once the system is implemented, that's shared by the region, and it's approximately a 60-40 split for the region. The three areas add up to approximately $12.5 million, and again, it's regional shared costs. So that leads me to our recommendation. We request Aviation and Transportation Subcommittee recommend council approval of exercising the RTLS and surveillance system options in the CAD contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay,
Approval.
okay, move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank
Thank you.
Just for the benefit of the audience, we do get briefed on a lot of these issues, so it helps us prior to the presentation. So our next item is complete streets. And we are joined by our new interim street transportation director, Bill Wiley. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is my first time here, so I got to learn the process a little bit. Speaking of that, one of my introductions to this process was to go to the Citizens Transportation Commission where they adopted this. That was probably my first week on the job. And there was a robust discussion, and all members of the commission weighed in on this, and they did agree to adopt that on a vote 9-2. So to go through the rest of the process, and I know that you asked us to go through this public process, Kenny Knutson's here, Deputy Director, or Assistant Director with the Streets Transportation Department.
Thanks, Bill. Madam Chair, Mayor Williams, and Councilwoman Mendoza, glad to be here this morning to talk about kind of the results of a lot of work that was done, not just by city staff, but a lot of stakeholders' involvement, as well as members of the council as well. So it's been a long process to get through, but I'm glad to say we're at a point where we have a recommendation going forward that I think that we can all get behind. So where have we been the last few months? And I think what I wanted to focus, first of all, is that council directed us to kind of go back and see what we could do to speed up the process to get the complete streets design guidelines through the approval process. And just a refresher is, those are really targeted at making sure we're looking at all users of the right-of-way, all users of our streets, to make sure they're safe and designed accordingly that way. So the first action we did after council took action to make sure we went back to our Citizens Transportation Commission and back to this body as well before the summer break. On April, we went to talk about the guidelines to our Citizens Transportation Commission, and they asked us to go and continue that the action for 4 months so we could do more stakeholder involvement. Shortly after that, we went to this subcommittee of this body right before summer and asked and looked at the same topic and what we need to do with the guidelines. And we were asked to take the same amount of time, go back and do some stakeholder involvement, but also look at some cost analysis associated with the implementation of these guidelines. So we had a process where we were going to look at 3 public meetings to go out and do that stakeholder involvement. And the picture up here is photo number 1. Probably doesn't accurately represent all of the different folks who were involved in the process. But I did want to focus, first of all, that it was facilitated by street staff. And I'm here presenting this, but I wanted to mention that Chris Kowalski, our Special Projects Administrator, even though there's a lot of people behind the scenes, Chris was the one up in front of those meetings for several hours at a time, managing all of the different comments and the feedback that was going on. So he did a great job through this whole process. But in addition to Chris and some folks, we had a very engaged stakeholder group. And it wasn't just one group of folks and representing this one. It was people from all walks of life who had an interest in complete streets. And I would be remiss to mention that we also had a number of our Citizens Transportation Commission members there as well, and to the point that we almost had quorum concerns as we went through those meetings. But we did prepare for that eventuality. But I also want to note that Chair Stark as well was very much involved, and we appreciate your insight and your involvement in the process to help us get where we're at today. And I should mention that the folks who were involved and signed into those meetings, it's included in the packet. We had a total of about 59 folks who did show up to those meetings. So the first meeting we had was on July 10th, and this was really kind of a get-to-know-you kind of session where we brought people in, talked about the guidelines, but also gave them a chance to air their concerns. So it was a lot of listening going on, not just city staff listening to stakeholders, but stakeholders listening to stakeholders. So I would say we didn't get a huge amount accomplished towards our goal, but I think it was a great introduction to be able to get to where we needed to get to in the next 2 meetings. Sorry. There we go. On the next slide here, July 31st was our second meeting, and it really focused on this meeting was trying to get through the guidelines, talk about them, talk about individual concerns about those guidelines, and really get that input from the stakeholders' perspective. Then we really try to wrap it up with the last meeting on August 15th, where, in there. August 15th, where we had that final working group meeting where we went through piecemeal by piecemeal each one of those areas of the guidelines to make sure everybody was in agreement on those guidelines. So after that, after we got a finished guideline process that was adopted by formulated by the Complete Streets Working Group, we took it to our Citizen Transportation Commission back in near the end of August. We went through a long discussion with that group as well, but at the end of the day, they didn't make any changes. We ended up getting it approved 9-2 by that group, and so we sit here today bringing it before the subcommittee to request similar action for approval from this body. But if we are successful in getting action from this the subcommittee, we'll be hopefully getting to formal on October 17th. So a little bit more about the details about what's in the guidelines. The first thing to note, and you see the map up there, we are a city of over 500 square miles. So there was a lot of debate about whether we wanted these guidelines to be citywide or if they were to be a particular area. In the end, these will be applying citywide, but we wanted to make sure, it's something that Mayor Williams was very specific about, making sure that these were very adaptable and they weren't something that was going to be applied one way across the entire city. Because as we knew, a city with 500 square miles, we have a lot of villages, we have a lot of folks, we have a lot of different areas of Phoenix, and they all have different needs. And so we want to make sure, just the same way, Complete Streets doesn't look the same way in different areas of the city. So we want to make sure that flexibility is incorporated in those guidelines. So we really wanted to vary it based on the land use and the community character. Also, again, not a one-size-fits-all approach. So we wanted to make sure that we are and this is emphasized over and over and over again with the Complete Streets Working Group. We wanted this to be context sensitive. So we didn't just say, okay, this is what Complete Streets is going to look like. So we wanted to be able to have the opportunity to be able to define it in different ways for different areas of the city. And one of the concerns that some of those stakeholders, especially the development community, was, are these prescriptive? Are these regulatory? And we want to say that in and of itself, these guidelines are not regulatory. They're not prescriptive. What they will do is they will help inform future updates to city documents, codes, policy plans. And so this is kind of another first step to get to the point where we're going to talk more about what will happen and what these will actually look like as we implement them throughout the city. So when it comes to talking about, slow today, the cost analysis, looking at the cost analysis portion of that this body asked us to look at. And what I would say is this is a little bit more impactful just on our CIP projects, our capital improvement projects that we do in the street transportation department, meaning that when we go out and do a major street improvement project, how we implement complete street elements within those is going to be defined not only by cost, but also by community involvement and talking with the community what's important to them for that particular stretch of roadway. And so there's a lot of things that we looked at. And so in your packet is also a kind of an a la carte menu. And I mean a la carte because it doesn't mean you have to do all of them. It doesn't mean we have to do just one. It's somewhere in between, and it all depends on what is the needs of the project and the needs of the community in those. So those costs are included in there, and that's something we'll keep in mind and use as we're looking forward on certain projects we have them underway right now, and we're using that to help guide our discussions with the community and on the budget issues related to those projects. Okay, so lastly, I come to our recommendation is we're looking for the subcommittee to recommend City Council approval of these Complete Street Design Guidelines based on the input of the Complete Streets Working Group. And with that, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and I guess we don't have any speaker cards, so that says a lot. You guys did a lot of good work over the summer. I did attend all the meetings, and they were really good working meetings. I think a lot was accomplished. A couple things that came out of that were that we would have some ability to adapt depending on the project. So as the development comes through, there will be flexibility given to both the street transportation director and the planning and development director to make calls. And I think the other important thing that came out of that is that we're going to come up with a checklist. So as a developer comes in, we can start to look at all those other plans that we've adopted over the years. So we can look at our bike master plan and our shade master plan, and we can start to talk to the development community about that. But I also think that we recognize that we as a city may have to implement some capital improvement projects to show how this works. But I think we did a good job. I didn't do it, you guys did it, I just sat in on the meetings, and I do want to say kudos to Chris, and I guess that's why Marie retired, right? Maria Hyatt was also here, and she did a lot of work on it as well. And I really want to thank everybody that was involved. I do see Valley Partnership here, but she didn't put in a speaker card, so I guess that's a good sign, right? Not to put you on the spot. Thank you. Are there any other questions or any comments?
I'll make comment, because I'm the one that slowed this process down. And I really want to thank everyone who participated, for staff, for working through this, to councilman for being there and coming up with some ideas and stealing some from some other cities. But whatever works. But it makes a big difference, and I think it really eliminates a lot of concerns that certain people had in different parts of the city. So thank you for all your hard work, your commitment to doing this, and we appreciate all the time and effort you put into it.
All right, well, with that, I'll take a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much for your work. Okay, the next is on public notification of planned right-of-way construction during evening hours. Another issue you inherited, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. This is an issue that I think the public brought forward, was the fact that oftentimes we have to do work after hours in order to accommodate traffic flow during the day, and then work needs to be done in the right-of-way after hours. And so I believe the council requested that we run a process in order to determine how to do this best, such that this work does not disturb our residents during when they accomplish this work. So with that, I have with me Deputy Director Chris Ewell, who's going to kind of explain the process we went through and where we are today. Chris?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. And there we go. So right-of-way work. So it happens pretty much all day, all night. Weekends, weekdays, holidays included, pretty much 365 days a year. Work types include routine maintenance, new installation, construction. Emergency work is a pretty large factor. It's everyone's in the right-of-way, our utility partners, city forces, private development, trying to get their projects done. One of the biggest things that we hear from residents related to after-hours work is noise, and that's why we're here today. So why is a policy needed? There is an increased need for night construction. Construction in the right-of-way does cause traffic issues, and in some cases it's pretty detrimental to our traffic flow. So we prescribe in some cases that work is done at night. With increased development throughout the community, this is happening all over town. So we do have public concerns regarding notification. I think overall we're pretty good about giving notification to the public on these construction activities. But every now and then we've had a few that have slipped through. So we want to be consistent with how we treat this and how we approve work in the right-of-way. We've done extensive stakeholder outreach since we last brought this issue to you back in April. Some of our partners are here today, including the Water Services Department, Planning and Development, APS, and the private development community. And we had really proactive dialogue throughout the summer on how this policy should look, when it should apply, and when we needed to give a little bit here and there. So the proposed policy is similar to the process used by the Planning and Development Department for their extended work hours permits. Public notification is required when the work is performed during nighttime hours. That does adjust depending upon the season. Traditionally it's from 7 to 7, except for during the summer hours when they get to start, it ends an hour earlier at 6 o'clock. And it generates moderate or loud noise levels. There are times when there is work that happens in the right-of-way that doesn't really create a whole lot of noise. There may be some light disturbance, but again, the noise is what we heard the most about, so that's what we were the most concerned about. And it does apply to everyone that's doing the work in the right-of-way, as I mentioned before. So when doesn't the policy apply? Emergency work. This slide is not to be critical of Water Services Department, but we do have a lot of times where there's emergencies that happen on the right-of-way. We need to respond as soon as we can. And we do get complaints on emergency work in evening hours, but it is a priority to get services restored back to the public as quickly as possible. It does not apply to daytime work on weekdays, weekends, or holidays, except for in areas where we have a moratorium on construction around our shopping areas during the holidays. Another exclusion is critical water service. Obviously, everybody needs water. If we are needing to do service provision for distribution in evening hours, they already have an extensive process in place right now for public notification that includes notification to the council offices affected. So we feel pretty comfortable with that process, and Water Services feels that if they had to add an extra step, it'll just delay their providing of the water infrastructure. And then any work already covered by a permit through the extended hours process through the Planning and Development Department. We don't want to make our development partners have to go through a separate process when they already do an extensive process for after hours work for their on-site work. So the review process, there is centralized review through the Street Transportation Department. I'm the Deputy Director over the Design Construction Management Division. All of these applications come into my office. I get to thoroughly vet them and make sure that the majority of the questions are answered before I forward it over to the appropriate council office for concurrence is usually what I'm looking for. I'm not going to send something to you that I don't agree with. It doesn't make sense for me to do that. And then if there's a public notification process, we try to get word out at least a week in advance. 2 weeks is preferred. If it's going to be a long-term, we've had a few notifications that we've done related to, like, say, light rail, Station 50. It's going to be several months. We try to get that word out as soon as possible. Complaint resolution. With all of our best efforts, we still will get complaints on occasion. The city inspector is the primary contact. It's on all of the notification information that we send out. And the public does still have the option, if they'd like to call the police department for there's noise complaints. They're more than welcome to do so. If the city inspector cannot resolve the issue in the field, it will get escalated to, the item will get escalated to me the next morning, and I'll make a decision at that point what to do moving forward in conjunction with the council office. We'll notify the council office of those complaints. And then we always reserve the right to revoke that approval as necessary, but it would be our last resort, and so far we haven't had that problem. So we did do a pilot program since May. Everything that's been coming in for city work that's planned and utility work, again, that's planned, have been going through my office and out to your offices as well as they've come through. We've been getting about 3 to 4 a week. It has kind of spiked a little bit the last couple of weeks. We're getting about 6 or 7 a week. But the good news that I can share, we have not had any complaints to date. The only complaint that I've received so far from the public was related to an emergency situation, and we made sure to follow up with that resident. So we're requesting Aviation and Transportation Subcommittee recommend to City Council for the approval of the proposed public notification policy for after-hours construction in the right-of-way. I'd be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for working on this. I know they've had this process in planning and development for a number of years, and it's really worked very effectively, and it sounds like it's working well for you as well. Are there any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Recommend approval of proposed public notification policy for after-hour constructions in the right-of-way.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
Future agenda items, which of course, I was looking at that to begin with. I guess I was ready for October. So we have several items on the 23rd. Are there any you would like to add for the future? Okay, well, hearing none, we move to approve. Or do I get to just, Jen, okay, adjourn. Okay, we adjourn.